benefit from really focusing in on your realness. No matter what happens, AI doesn't take your job because your job is being you. I truly, genuinely want the best for my clients. I'm playing a caricature of myself, really.
Hey, Katlin, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, it was really interesting. I was talking, we were chatting earlier, and I'd mentioned that a friend of mine in the real estate, and I've spoken at pretty much every major stage within the real estate, title, mortgage, finance group. And so I've got to see a lot of the industry, and every industry has what they call a stereotype, and everyone hates that stereotype, but it's called a stereotype because everyone lives that stereotype. And so when I get calls going, hey, you got to speak to this person, they're great real estate or they're great this, you're like, are they really? And then they introduce me to you. And I'm going to tell everyone right now, I don't want to wait until the end. Go onto Instagram, and I don't give a shit what business you're in. Check up Realtor Katlin. Okay, I'm telling you that, and I'm going to pause there. Instagram, Realtor Katlin. So when someone introduced me to you and they sent me your Instagram, I saw something that wasn't the norm, very disruptive, very satirical. I would pay credit to British comedy, but very British-esque kind of satire, the Ricky Gervais kind of monotone. Where did you come up with that?
People keep asking me this, and it's a hard thing for me to answer because I don't feel like I sat down and I was like writing out a list of ideas and I'm like, this is the one I'm going to go with. It's just kind of how my brain works. I just, I think things like that are funny. So I think an easier question for me to answer is like, how did I decide to make that particular content? Because the dark jokes, they just live in my brain. But the way I decided to kind of branch out and make that kind of content, which is just like, it is very different, is because I went on Instagram and I tried to like break out of my little real estate algorithm box, right? Because so many real estate agents just follow other real estate agents, and then you make more real estate stuff. And then the people commenting are other real estate agents saying, wow, great video. And so I was trying to retrain my algorithm to get me into the regular world again. And I scrolled like probably for 3 hours one day. I was like, I'm just gonna scroll. And every time something made me stop scrolling, I saved it. And then at the end of all that, I went back through and I was like, what is the common thread here? What is the thing that made me stop scrolling? Like, why did I think this was interesting? And these aren't real estate things. I'm not looking for real estate ideas. I'm just like, what is engaging content? And I like weird, funny shit. Like I like things that surprise me, or that you don't expect, that's what I liked. And so I was like, oh, I can do that.
So you reverse engineered it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And then I was like, well, yeah. And I was like, no, I kind of like, I've already got this kind of, I have these ideas that have floated around in my head, and I think I can apply this. Like, I think I can put 2 and 2 together here. And make this work. I didn't expect people to respond this way to it because I've had so much growth. I expected people to like it. I didn't think, but I didn't expect kind of the scale of the growth or the rate.
We're going to go into that growth and how are you taking it, what you're doing with it to monetize it. But the reason, and I want to make this very, very clear, we haven't got another realtor on the show here. Okay. And I don't have many realtors on it. I have some, great friends in the real estate, but you've literally grabbed hold of your industry. And you should never belittle what you've done here. But what you've done is, and I mean this with respect, is you've looked at what's getting the attention and more importantly, your attention. And so no matter what business you're in, do that scrolling that Katlin's just mentioned and ask yourself, why did you stop on that? Why did you stop on that? Because when you're in a sea of everyone doing the exact same thing, all thinking you're different, you're not. Yeah. And I mentioned to you earlier, when I started watching some of your videos, and we're going to go into the why they are and talk about them and what a sick, twisted individual you are.
I wear it with pride.
I went back and I could see this evolution of you.
Yeah.
And I could see, hey, I'm wearing my realtor hat and I've got my sunglasses on and I'm doing my realtor thing. And let's be blunt, that wouldn't have got you the tens of thousands of people that you've got now. And then when you started, as you say, reverse engineering it to go, well, hang on, this is grabbing my attention. I like it. Let me try it. And you went from, I think you were saying earlier, about 1,500 followers to well over 50,000, probably topping 60,000 now that we're watching this. What was the feeling when you did that first video that went, hang on a minute, from Little Miss Nice to, the female Ricky Gervais satire? What happened to you when you saw the reaction you suddenly started getting?
I felt so validated, because I thought it was funny, right? I liked it a lot. And it was like, I like the timing. I kind of I felt validated because I followed my instincts to make that. And it really worked. I think I was also kind of surprised because I didn't see it as being disruptive, because I mean, other real estate agents have, there's other real estate agents that try doing more comedic things. They're using like fart sound effects and stuff like that. So in my mind, I wasn't doing anything like revolutionary, but it was a very different flavor from the other, other real estate agents that were trying to dash in a little comedy. But I felt validated, a little bit surprised, but in a way, I felt like, oh, I found it, because you can see in my old content, like I've always been me. And I always have been I'm not quite your stereotype real estate agent. Right. And I have always wanted to show that. But I played around a lot with like how to convey that. And I focused on some types of content that I thought were important, or I thought were something people would need to know. Like for example, one type of content that I was leaning into a lot was like education, like telling first-time home buyers what they need to know. And you see a lot of that. And so I was like, maybe I can do that a little bit differently, a little bit more entertaining. But now that I've kind of like, I really feel like something clicked. Okay. So now that I've had my awakening, I don't really care to do a lot of educational content in that way. Because when I work with a client, that's the moment where I'm going to be like, hey, this is what we got to do. I don't think it's interesting enough to stop people from scrolling. If I'm like, you got to talk to a mortgage person. Like I'll tell you that one-on-one, but I don't need to sit down and try and make content that tells you that.
So has the interaction you've had between your clients changed now that you've stepped into this? I've seen the evolution of like a character, and you now play this really cool, dark, satirical character. Has your clients changed, and how have they reacted to you? Because you're showing some very beautiful houses. You're doing, I love the pros and cons series that you're doing. I was watching the Provo one recently. How has the interaction been when people come to you? Do they come to you now because you're fun and you're enlightening, or is it a case of how are they reacting to you?
Okay, so the feedback I'm getting and the reasoning why people are like, I want to work with you, is they're throwing around the word authenticity a lot, which is funny because you're talking about like it was almost a bit I'm doing, although it's more like, it's not like I'm playing a character as much as I'm like zooming into a singular facet of my own personality, right? So, and I think there's a difference there, because I'm not playing something that is different than me. I'm just like turning up the volume on a part of me. I'm playing a caricature of myself, really.
Yeah.
So people are talking about how authentic I am, which is just so funny because I'm not even talking about me at all. When I do these, I am kind of reflecting back to people what I think they are, and So I really love that. And I do so much value integrity, but I do think it feels different from someone standing in front of you and saying like, I tell the truth and I am an integrous individual. And I feel like I'm doing a little bit more showing of that than telling. And I think that is important because, so like you're talking about I do neighborhood pros and cons where I go into a neighborhood and I tell you 3 things that are pros about it and 3 things that are cons about it. And Provo is a weird place. And I can't even say all the weird things because there are fair housing laws where I can't talk about things like religion. Okay. So I talk about these things that are legitimately cons in an area, and doesn't mean that that area isn't somewhere you should live. I'm not saying this is the worst place on earth, but I think people going into a place and being kind of clear-eyed about it, I think that's important. But it also serves another purpose, and it is that I really feel like more than just saying like, hey, if you're moving here from California, here's the rundown. I think these are useful because if you are in Utah, you're already aware of these things. Like you kind of know the stereotypes of different areas. And so then when you see a video of me doing that, you're in on the inside joke. And so then you see me actually talking about things as they are. And it tells you that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm not gonna bullshit you, you know? So, and like I said, none of that wasn't something I sat down to be like, I'm going to disrupt the whole industry by actually telling the truth about something. But that's the reaction I'm getting is people just trusting me, you know?
So let's talk about that reaction. You tried something, you reverse engineered it, you got aggravated. I'm a great believer in curious aggravation. You know, can I hang on a minute? I need to do something different. I don't want to be in the algorithm of all the other peers. I want to be in the algorithm of people and eyeballs looking to actually make purchases. You reverse engineered that, what caught your attention, you replicated in your marketplace, and you gave something new. So that's all fantastic. And you now own it. And as we've said, you've gone from 1,500 to over 50,000 really quickly. What's it been, like about a month or something?
Literally like 30 days.
Right. Okay. So it's working. I hope you're going to continue it. You're obviously going to get copycats. Every great idea, that's the greatest form of flattery. So you're riding it while you can. What about the hatred? We're talking about reactions. I'm on about people in, I don't know, the Provo's most eligible. You know, are they complaining to you? You know, how much hatred are you getting or bitterness from other agents and even maybe these areas that you're doing the pros and cons on?
Honestly, not a lot. So I went through a tough divorce, someone who made it very difficult to divorce them. And so I learned the hard way how to just completely separate yourself from someone's idea of you and just let them I'm so okay with people being wrong about who I am, right? If they watch my content and they look at me in a way that I don't perceive myself, right? Their view of me disagrees with my view of me. I don't care. Like, I actually do not care. I made a video about me saying, like, I don't care if you like me. And so it hasn't bothered me on like a personal level. I don't carry that with me. It's a little bit entertaining. But I don't feel like there has been a lot of it. And the funny thing is that I feel like I have a little army of people who actually like really love me, so much so that on one of my videos, I had, maybe this was petty, but one of my home tour videos, someone commented like, oh, swing and a miss, like this was lame, this was boring. And so I just pinned their comment to the top. I didn't respond to it. I just pinned it to the top so that anytime someone went down in the comments, they'd see that one first. And people came to my defense and they said like, they were like, which thing triggered you, Was it when she said that you weren't original? Like, and it's funny. So I feel like the percentage of people that don't like my stuff, either they're not I'm not in their algorithm, and that's fine. Or when I do pop up and they care to comment, it just doesn't impact me. So in terms of like organizations that have had a problem with me, I haven't had any run-ins that way. Although I have been doing a lot of research into some shady building practices like that home builders will do in Utah. Like Utah is a big place where we have a lot of home builders. We have a lot of new builds and we need it, right? We're in a housing crisis. Everybody's in a housing crisis. And a couple years ago, there was an incident where a home builder built a couple houses and they didn't prep the land correctly, and the houses literally collapsed. And so I've been doing some research into that, and I can feel a little bit of a spark of like, I'm gonna get myself in trouble because I feel very much inclined to like look into this further, because I don't want to represent clients and tell them, yeah, buy this house, and then like have it fall into a ravine because I didn't know enough about how the home builders work, and I didn't advocate for them well enough on like getting a geotechnical like inspection of the area. And I don't know. And the laws in Utah are very much developer friendly over consumer friendly. And so I do anticipate that I will cause some problems in the future. But for now, I haven't had, the mayor of Provo hasn't called to reprimand me or anything.
I'm interrupting this podcast for 35 seconds to give you more value. If you are an ambitious entrepreneur looking for the opportunity in everything you come across, don't just listen to this podcast. Imagine taking part in these conversations every week. Imagine having a new network of creative and disruptive entrepreneurs to support and push you into becoming the person you can be. With this high level and exclusive community, it exists. Head to simsdistillery.com to learn more. I do like the way that you've identified, and people need to pay attention to this part. I'm a great believer that in the world of social, we need to amplify parts of ourselves quicker and stronger and bigger. It's not making you not yourself. It's just amplifying certain parts, like a caricature. When you have a caricature done at the beach, it gives you a slightly bigger nose. But if you didn't have a big nose to start with, it wouldn't have picked on that. So it's amplifying those kind of parts. Did you ever have a comedic background?
No, I did play Miss Skillin in See How They Run in 8th grade, and I did a great job.
Yeah, that was it then. Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. So that was the beginning of my journey. I do an excellent British accent. If you want me to whip that out, we can both do that.
There's nothing funnier than an American doing a British accent. That's always joyous.
Oh my gosh. No, not really. I've always like felt like I was a funny person. And I think this is a helpful exercise. If you're trying to think of like, how can I do that? How can I hone into the thing that, makes me unique, is like, think about what people like about you. Like, what do your friends like about you? What do they say, when they introduce you to someone new? And one of the things like my friend group appreciates about me, or that I get feedback on, is like, you're funny. Like, you will have these zingers. And, so sometimes if we can't quite see the value that we have, or not even that we can't see the value, we can't see the particular aspect of ourselves that we should hone in on. It's embarrassing, but you can ask people for feedback. I didn't, I just did it wrong a bunch of ways until I honed into the thing. But even then, like trying to study my own, content that I had made previously, like what people responded to better, that helps. Yeah. So, one area that originally I was like, this is what makes me really special, is that I do feel like I'm a very empathetic person. I'm an excellent listener, and I'm not pressury, right? Like, if you come to work with me and we're going to buy a house, okay? And we work together for 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, you say, it's not working out. I think I need to rent a little while, get to know the area better, and then I'll buy. I'm going to be like, amazing. Like, good for you. Like, do the thing that's best for you. So I thought that was the thing that I was going to bring that was really special, is like, I truly, genuinely want the best for my clients. I am not sitting there like trying to count my own commission and push them into something and be like, oh my gosh, I worked for this amount of time and I'm not going to get anything from it, because I truly believe that, like, if you put good out there, it's going to come back to you, even if it doesn't come back in the specific way that you thought it was going to. It's going to come back to you. So this actually happened with a client. I worked with them for a couple months, and they came back to me and they were like, I just can't, it's not the right time. And I was like, and I said, that's fine. All the best. Like, let me know if you have any questions. And, a month and a half later, so not even that much longer, they came back to me, and within a week or two, we were under contract for a $1.2 million home, so, I think it works out. I think it always works out for me. So I don't put pressure on my clients, but that isn't necessarily, I think it's a great aspect of my personality, but it's also not the one that I need to hone in on for my content, right? That's harder. They're going to figure that out when they work with me, but it's harder to convey that. But they are understanding that I am truthful and that I'm like straightforward.
Now, if we look at your content, and this is where I want to get people to kind of like pay attention. I want to get people to pay attention that Kaitlin is doing what she's doing in the real estate world. And that's important to say. And this is why you're on this show. I feel as though you could do what you're doing in a car dealership. I feel as though you could do what you're doing for an HVAC company. I feel as though you could do what you're doing for a law firm, for a florist. Yeah. I've not seen you yet on what I've stalked you on in your should we say the caricature chapter of your content, and the one that's gained that attraction. I've not seen you actually sell the feature of that bathroom. There's been this satirical commentary that you can see it in the background. It looks nice. You're saying something funny, but you're not going, hey, have a luxurious bath here and enjoy the sunlight. It's a case of this bath's so big you can drown your sorrows. You're playing the element that I wanted to get on here was, one, the use of your caricature, taking your fun parts, your comedic, your timing, and amplifying those for the benefit of obviously the viewer, but then also kind of anti-selling what you're doing. Because I was looking at some of the things, and we brought up Provo. I've never been to Provo, okay? And I'm just kind of like, that's funny, but I don't know, maybe one day I'll bump into Provo, there was this kind of, by the the takeaway kind of thing, it made me want to go, oh, well, maybe I'd like to see that. So my question to you is, I'm a great believer that if you are working in your industry, you're susceptible to your industry. And we've seen purple bricks, we've seen blockchain come along, we've seen so many different, and there's a lot in Europe where they're just killing agencies, and everything's going online. And here we are in America with an MLS system, which is 1 degree away from a lot of people going out of a job when it triggers over a little bit more into maybe AI. Everyone's evil about AI at the moment. Have you thought about what you are doing with your industry and other industries that it could work in?
A little. Well, okay. Can I be real with you? Because one of the things that, because of my growth, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I can leverage this like to personally gain. And so I've thought a lot about like my own ability to like, I could talk to an airline and they could, I'm not their typical influencer, right? But people have thrown around the word influencer now that I have a following. And I'm like, oh, I could absolutely bring this style of like honesty to like pros and cons of sitting in first class, And so I'm not saying that everybody needs to like take that. But I very much feel like being real and being authentic and giving people connection is the way to secure your own future in this world where everything is shifting to AI. Because we had a moment, right, where social media, everybody wanted to have these polished things. And so the people who were able to create those polished, like those flat lays or like the beautiful pictures of the home, like that was what people wanted because it felt different. But now we're in a moment where AI can spit out anything, and it can make a polished something. So now we're saturated there, and we're kind of, there's a devolution, I think, a little bit where people are wanting a little bit more connection, some anti AI. They're thirsty to know that things are real and to be able to separate what is real and what is not real. So I think that any industry is going to benefit from, or I guess any individual, especially entrepreneurs, from really focusing in on your realness, so that no matter what happens with AI, no matter what happens in the future, you don't get, AI doesn't take your job because your job is being you.
And that's what I mean. You've had this growth over 30 days.
Yeah.
So I noticed it very early on, and I can, if you carry on at this trajectory, in fact, here you go. Here I'm going to give a vision. Okay. If you carry on doing what you're doing and gaining the focus, and let's be serious, the attention that you're getting, I can see it being taken into other markets. And you are at this moment in time a poster child of someone doing something different in your industry that's not just relevant just to your industry.
Yeah.
Showing a house, turning up in a Mercedes that's on lease or borrowed from your next door neighbor in a suit and wearing a, your fake Audemars and all that kind of stuff. And again, it may sound like I'm attacking realtors, but for Christ's sake, grow up. We know you don't own a lot of that shit. Just turn up as yourself. And my favorite friends that are doing really, really well show up as themselves, because it's all about you buying your home and not about how good they look on camera. Your essence and style is kind of disrupting the way you're looking at those properties. And you're right. I could see it being used in airlines. It would be fantastic if an airline company turned around and said, we want you doing reviews of like the economy, the business, the cabins, the toilets, the pros and cons of a first class toilet. That would be freaking hilarious. So I can see what you're doing, where it translates across. And I want my viewers and listeners to watch it. And we'll put clips and links in for you. But I want them to watch this and go, how can I apply that to my business? Now, you've only had it for 30 days.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm guessing, we don't know each other very well, but I'm assuming or have a belief that the divorce you went through, while it was a little bit vicious, your words, you said it wasn't very nice. Okay?
It was not. No,
sorry, I am sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry you went through that.
No, it's a good thing.
Okay, and you were able during that to be able to separate you from the situation.
Yeah.
And I think in doing that, it's allowed you, because I'm sure as shit you've got haters. A friend of mine once said that, be so successful you have haters. I'm sure as shit you've got them, but because of you being able to split, I don't reckon you can see them. And I reckon all of those people out there chancing crap in your direction, you just can't hear that white noise.
No.
I remember once I got I think it was a 2-star review. It may even have been a 1-star review. And they said, I did the audio book. I did the audio version of my first book. And my wife always laughs at me about my R's and W's. And this guy turned around and said, who told this guy it'd be a good idea for him to read his own book? He can't get his R's and W's right. And they wrote that, and it was like a one. I did the same as you. I posted that to the top of the reviews and just watched people just lay into this fella I almost felt sorry, but it did so well
Yeah.
for my book sales, thanks to him. You're now in a situation where you're getting this attention. I'm really curious what you're going to do over the next 6 months with it.
I don't know. I think so. It's such an exciting moment because I'm honestly, I have felt a little delusional. So I've only been in the business, by the way. I've only been in real estate for like 13 months. I am not, maybe 14 now. I don't know. So I'm not this person that has sold a billion houses. I don't have all the experience, right? I have some solid deals under my belt. I feel like I do know the business, and I really pride myself in being able to figure shit out. So even if I came across something that was a little complicated, I feel very confident that I'm like, I know who to ask, by the way. I have a lot of people, I have mentors that like know more than me. But so I'm not the most experienced person in real estate. But when I started, I was like, I'm going to bring something special. Like, I know that, like, because I can see all these really successful real estate agents, and I don't think the distance between me and them is that different. Like, I don't think it's that far. So I lived in that state of delusion for quite a while, where my reality wasn't quite reflecting like how I felt inside. And then I was a little disappointed because after my first year, I had closed like 2.2 million in deals, which is fine. It's solid for your first year, but it's not impressive. And so I felt a little let down, and I was like, was I wrong? Like, do I actually not have like kind of something special? Because I felt like I did. And, I was always the kid that like in high school, my teachers would be like, you're going to be president someday, or like, can't wait to see. And so I was like, oh, I've always kind of felt like I had something. And maybe I'm just actually normal, which is fine too. Okay. But then this moment happened, and I was like, oh, here it is. I knew it was coming. Here it is. And so I feel on the cusp of all these things that I almost feel like I knew were going to happen. It sounds so woo-woo, and it is, but like it's almost just feeling very secure that things work out for me in the long term, but just not knowing how and waiting. It's kind of fun to sit here and wait and think, well, how is this all going to work out? Because it's going to be exciting to watch it like unfold. So one thing that I really want to lean into in the next, I don't know, 6 months is connecting people with real estate agents in their area, because not everyone kind of has the instinct for social media that I was able to like click into. But that doesn't mean that every real estate agent out there is like this. They're not like the personality of like ChatGPT and if Tesla had a baby. There's really cool real estate agents out there. And so over in the future, one thing I want to lean into is connecting those, because I have a really wide audience now, and it's not just in Utah, and the only place I'm licensed is Utah. So if someone's in New Jersey and they need a real estate agent in New Jersey, like, I know agents in Jersey, and I know which ones I like and which ones like pass the vibe check. So I can help connect those two people, and then I make money off of that. It doesn't cost the client more money. It costs the agent money, but everybody wins, because the agent paying me for a deal that they wouldn't have had without me, like, makes sense for them too. So that's one thing in terms of real estate. But I don't know, like, it just feels like this moment of anything can happen. And so one of my really good friends, she's actually a cast member on Bravo, has a new real estate TV show that's set in Salt Lake, and it premieres in a few weeks. So we're in the end of December in 2024, and it premieres at the beginning of, or I'm sorry, we're in the end of November. It premieres at the beginning of December in a few weeks. And I didn't know that she was filming that when we met and when we connected originally. And then after we had gone to coffee a couple times, she was able to tell people, and I was like, oh, that is so cool. And so it almost unlocked something in my brain. I was like, oh my gosh, you could have so much exposure. Like, you're so close to opportunity all the time, right? And I'm not saying that they're going to pull me onto that show or anything like that, but like I have had, honestly, I've had casting directors reach out to me. So like it feels like a moment where there is anything that is possible.
That's absolutely beautiful. Well, let's circle back and see what's going on in 6 months' time and see where you are. But Katlin, I want to thank you for being on the show. As I say, I said to everyone at the beginning, you've got to get over to Realtor Katlin on Instagram, and I'm going to put the links below. But congratulations, you've now got people's attention. Let's see what you can do with it, girl.
Thank you so much, and I love yapping. So anytime.
Thanks. Chat soon. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. You know what to do. If you love it, share, subscribe, but more than anything, do something with it. And remember, life's too short to play it safe. So disrupt, connect, and grow. See you next time.